It's Thursday. We shouldn't be here.
What are we doing?
This isn't normally what we
Many
do.
people ask that anyway.
But this is USfanTV Live. We normally do these on Monday and Wednesday nights, but things got all screwed up this week with the holiday. And then we weren't going to do one. And then we did one Tuesday because Bob Bradley got fired. And now we're doing one Thursday because there are things to talk about. And the first one is, wait, hold on. We have breaking news into the USfanTV newsroom. Thomas Rongen is the new chief scout for U.S. Soccer, according to Thomas Rongen on Twitter. So I guess you can't get any more official than that.
Straight from the horse's mouth.
What are your thoughts on this? He's done some good work and he's had some issues in the past.
Yeah, he's got a bit of a mixed bag. I mean, on the one hand, he found us John Brooks, who, at least until the Costa Rica game, had pretty much become the best defender the U.S. had ever had. On the other hand, he also lost us Nevin Subotic. So he also lost us the guy who probably would have been the best defender the U.S. had ever had. So possibly the best player. So he's kind of a mixed bag. I think he also found Bobby Wood. So over the last 2 years, very good track record, or 4 years, whatever you kind of count it as, very good track record. A little bit before that, you know, when he was still a youth coach and things, he's got some mixed bag issues. I think with, you know, an international heritage, we'll call it, I think that definitely helps. We have long-standing ties with the Netherlands across soccer, from, you know, Ernie Stewart mainly, but guys like John O'Brien coming up in the Ajax academy. We do have kind of a history. Bradley playing there, Aaron Johansson playing there, and kind of, you know, making their bones, so to speak. So we have sort of a tie there. I think that fits. It's not a bad choice. I guess that means we won't get any more of his Brad Friedel-ish, what language is he speaking accents, but during games anyway.
The thing with Friedel, you at least knew what was going on there, as weird as it was. Rongen is Dutch, but to me doesn't sound Dutch. Like, I've heard a lot of Dutch dudes. I've heard a lot of dudes from Amsterdam. It's not what I'm getting. I'm getting more of an Andre the Giant vibe when I hear him.
It's not a peanut.
But he's a smart dude.
Yeah.
He's very outspoken. I think he knows what he's doing, and I you know, I'm kind of partial to the Dutch. I like the Dutch, enjoy their country. So yeah, let's, you know, he's welcome back. It's hopefully going to be a good thing. Maybe we'll win that 2026 World Cup that we're going to triple host with Canada and Mexico or whatever. We shall see. That's a different. We'll get into that probably a different day. We want to talk about. There's more to say about Bob Bradley, and that's
mainly because he's saying more.
Because he spoke today, and he kind of blasted the American dudes who fired him at Swansea. I have his quote here for you. This is courtesy of Jeff Carlisle at ESPN FC. He says, Bradley tells Jeff, "We all understood that it was going to be hard work and that we were going to need to go step by step and that it was going to include improving the team in January. I'm disappointed that somehow, when a few games go against you, all of a sudden, those discussions and all of those ideas of what it was going to take to turn this around got pushed aside. I think people, they reacted to the fans and didn't have the strength to see it through. That part I'm not happy about." Did Swansea's owners not have the strength to see this through?
I mean, it's true that I would say, I think he's probably right that, you know, they bowed to the pressure of the fans. Certainly when you know, a portion of your fan base owns the largest segment of your team, or at least a large segment. I can't remember if they are the largest, but they are a majority or a large stockholder.
I believe it's 21%.
Team. Okay,
21%.
They own, you know, a fair amount. They have quite a say, and then they got robbed of all of it. There's something to, I guess, be expected there. I do believe that it was. I mean, as we've discussed, I still believe it wasn't fair to do it at this point. I think you couldn't expect a coach, a manager, to truly create the system he wanted or develop the style he wanted. However, I'm still stuck on. To me, the West Ham game in particular was a failing. Like until then, some of the results I was willing to say, yeah, but he's just gotten here. He's trying to do he's playing a different style than the previous manager. He's trying something new. Clearly, he needs some new players because the guys that he has, particularly in the defense, aren't cutting it. They're simply not good enough to be there. But my issue was 2 to 3 weeks ago, it was clear that you had to do something. The team was not just leaking goals because they weren't good. It was that he wasn't helping them. And to see that nothing really changed and then to get torn apart by West Ham, who, I don't know, aside from Payet, Andy Carroll, he scores when he wants, but I can't really explain that guy. It's sort of like he sucks, but he can't help but score. But besides Payet, really, there's nobody on West Ham that I'm truly like, oh no, that guy I fear. Payet, that guy's incredible. I'll give him that. But otherwise, West Ham they're no great shakes. I'll use a little
they're
American
definitely
slang
struggling.
here. Yeah,
they're definitely struggling this season after the move. Yeah,
and to see that he did nothing with the defense. Now maybe he thought because they're not particularly good, I don't need to. But it just seems to me, looking at their track record over the last 3 to 4 weeks, you saw what was coming, and it was that you're going to give up at least 3 goals. And to do nothing, that speaks poorly of his management. And that's why I think that was probably kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, whatever cliche you want to use. To me, that was really where I think that was a true failing. Until then, I was willing to say, come on, you got to give the guy a chance. He was betting on a losing horse. Like, you got to give him a chance to find something here. That game in particular, I can't disagree with the supporters who say, he didn't belong here. He shouldn't have gotten the job in the first place. That, I think, game truly did look like he didn't belong. Having said that, I don't buy. I've seen a lot of the comments and things that say, oh, he had no experience to be here. Well, that's like saying you can't have kids because you never had kids before. You can't have a job because you never had a job before. Yeah, he didn't have experience at this level, but that didn't mean that he was certainly unqualified for it. I think some of our commenters, I think, were right that this was probably the worst chance or the worst circumstance for him to come into. It was a failing team, failing ownership, failing support from the club, and then to come in and now you got to try to reinvent the wheel kind of with this team. That's just a recipe for failure.
And just the whole undercutting thing too. Yeah, and the Swansea fans who have commented on our previous video, thank you. I get that. I totally get that. And I've said to somebody, if a British dude had been brought in to manage the Chicago Bears in the NFL, the team that I like, by, let's say the Bears were owned by a British dude and he brought in a British coach, I would be pretty weirded out by that too. I get, and on top of that, not just that he was American, but that, the fans' trust didn't get a say. Yeah, I get that. So it was a toxic situation from the beginning. I think Bob is right. They did react to the fans. I think that's clear. I think they would have let him stick around if it didn't become such a toxic situation. But as far as the strength comment goes, that bugs me a little bit from Bob, and that strikes me as a little bit, it's not the classiest thing. Go blast your boss on the way out. It's definitely not something that we've seen from him before. And speaking of that, another thing we haven't seen from him before is this. When Bob was our manager, it was basically just we were going to sit back and defend and counterattack.
Yeah.
And he gets to Swansea, a team with no defense, and all of a sudden he thinks he's Jurgen Klopp. Well, Jurgen Klopp has a weak defense, but he's got an incredible offense. So,
unfortunately,
he can do that. Plus, he's a better manager than Bob. Bob, we've never seen that from him before, and why he decided to do it now when he got his shot in the Premier League. Maybe he was just, I don't know. I can't explain it, but it's very out of place, out of character for him. And ultimately, it was his demise.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, my feeling has always been you kind of play players where they fit. You let sort of their skills dictate their placement or their where they fit in your lineup, where they kind of fit in on the field. How they work together, where they overlap, or whatever. So maybe he was just seeing something different. To me, I can't explain it. Some of it is, I'm sure that it's not like Swansea is a team that I truly watch. I mean, I've seen them play. I've seen them play in person, but I don't. They're not a team I'm invested in. So it's not a team that I'm truly like examining their matches to go, oh well, this is where they should be playing. This is how they should be playing. There, I will fully admit I'm at a loss. But yeah, to me, it was really the defense was such a failure there, and to see that he wasn't doing anything to adjust for it, that I don't understand, because that to me is simply poor management. That you put on the coach, that you put on the manager, because that is where there should have been someone who saw this is the error and this is what we need to correct, and that wasn't being done. So in that regard, I can't disagree with the firing. Really, I still think it's a shitty thing to do. To give someone weeks, essentially. I mean, not even 3 months. That's an awfully hard thing to ask. But at the same time, he has to accept some part of his role here, which is that what were you doing to cure what was such an obvious flaw in your team? And I mean, everyone could see it. Simply look at the numbers, you could see it. But to watch any of their games, his back four, they can't play the ball, they can't mark they can't really whatever. They can't defend. They're not strong enough players to be at this level, and it doomed him. Now, is he right that they didn't have the strength to see it through? Yeah, somewhat. I won't disagree with him, but at the same time, I also have to say, had you done more for the defense, at least you could say, look, I did what I could. In this case, I have to look at the last game in particular. The West Ham match in particular stands out for me. But because of it, I think you have to kind of look at the last 2 or 3 before that. And it's like, you saw this coming, though. I mean, it wasn't like it just sprang up. I mean, this had been, this was snowballing down the hill. It was gaining speed, and you didn't seem to do anything about it. So that, I don't know what to say. In that regard, I suppose, yeah, the management had to do something. I think in this case, they were probably, because they didn't listen the first time, they were reacting now. And maybe they overreacted, maybe they overcorrected, whatever you say. But I understand why they did it. I mean, in that regard, it shocked me a little bit, but I get where they're coming from too, kind of, that realistically, I know if you look at the numbers, he would have had to double his points per game just to even have a respectable chance of clearing relegation, which, based on what they've done so far in the first half of the season, not even close to happening. I mean, they're looking at possibly being one of the worst teams ever, and I mean, even worse than Derby County a few years ago, who were horrendous, with Benny Feilhaber, by the way.
I mean, yeah, they're only saving grace is there's some other teams down there with them right now. So
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I could argue it took a certain measure of strength to actually pull the plug, to admit your mistake and pull the plug. And like I said to you, if you were going to make the move, you had to do it now, so that you get the new guy in before the window opens, so that he can go to work and have the rest of the season to try to save it. So, it is what it is. Bob got a shot and he didn't make it happen, and it'll be a while, but I'm sure at some point another American will have a shot too. I'm more interested in seeing some of our players test themselves in the Premier League, and instead of taking the big paycheck here in MLS. But That's a different story.
Yeah, no,
Speaking
absolutely.
of guys who want a big MLS paycheck, or maybe, and speaking of Swansea City owners, Landon Donovan is reportedly mulling a DP offer from Real Salt Lake, the team with the dumbest name in Major League Soccer.
It is really dumb.
I don't know that there's much Spanish.
That was a
royalty
really dumb
there.
joke, but I did it.
Is there a lot of Spanish royalty among the Mormons? I don't know.
Supposedly, yeah, it's a 2-year DP deal, and then what I've heard from ESPN FC is reporting that there's also an unnamed Eastern Conference team that has offered him something as well. I don't think the details of that have come out, at least not when I was looking, I don't know, an hour ago or whatever. But there is some other team as well. I assume, of course, that has to be the Chicago Fire, because why wouldn't it be? But I guess in a limited role, I mean, if he was coming on in probably the 75th minute, he could probably play for another 5 years. Clearly his knees are pretty well shot. I don't know that he's, I mean, he did manage to go 90 minutes near the end for the Galaxy, but he's also had roughly a year break. So he had a year of recuperation, a year of, strength training, and then all the training with the team leading up to it. So it's possible. I could see him coming out and playing again. Salt Lake seems like an odd place for him. It just doesn't seem to kind of fit the style of life he wants. And who knows, maybe it's just a sort of a throwaway offer that they're giving him that, they're not really expecting him to take it, or it's one of those where his agent or someone is sort of like trying to get them to do it. So the Galaxy or somebody will come through and say, well, maybe we can come up with something for you.
I think any MLS team, any MLS team that has a DP slot and struggles with attendance should absolutely throw him an offer, because while he's not the player he used to be, he can definitely sell tickets. So,
yeah. And for 15, 20 minutes at the end of a match, maybe 25, he's better than a lot of the guys who are out there already. As a super sub, you'd love to send him on. And on top of it, he's bringing the cachet of being Landon Donovan. And he's going to sell tickets. He's going to draw crowds. It's probably going to be a bit like when Beckham was here, and to get tickets to those games, you had to buy tickets to like 2 other games or whatever too. It's going to be a scam for other clubs to make money. And that's why it wouldn't surprise me at all if MLS is kind of shepherding this to see it happen. I wouldn't be entirely surprised if Atlanta came through, if Atlanta was the unnamed Eastern team, because they seem to just be willing to buy anyone.
They're buying everyone.
Yeah. They want to make a huge splash. They seem to want to start like the Sounders or higher. He has the history with Boca Negra there, so he has relationships already with the club. Now, granted, so many former national teamers work in so many of these clubs anyway. He has relationships with like just about every club at this point. But you would think for as long as he and Boca Negra played together, they probably have a pretty close relationship, or have more than just professional ties. So I could see it. I don't see why someone wouldn't. If he's willing to take the money, you don't really need that much out of him. And that's why, I joke that it's the Fire, because we both know the Fire would never sign him. But yeah, he instantly sells tickets. And if you have a decent team as a super sub, why wouldn't you send him on? Who cares who cares about his age? What is he, 34 right now, 35?
So, yeah. And he may have more left in the tank with a full, I don't know what he's doing right now. If he wants to play, he probably is training right now, and he may have more left in the tank than we saw. With this though, you got to always wonder where these stories come from. And to me, this smacks of, remember, it was the Galaxy who said that Donovan was retired. Donovan never said that. Re-retired. And it could be Landon's people throwing out a, hey, see, there's other teams willing to offer him a DP deal. So if you don't want this to become Michael Jordan on the Washington Wizards, maybe you get serious about this and throw him some cash and keep him on the LA Galaxy.
Little coin of the realm here, and
yeah,
let's take care of this.
I mean, they just got Jermaine Jones, and it's not like Landon doesn't sell more tickets than Jermaine Jones. And Landon is honestly, it's a wash depending on if Landon's fitness is there. He's obviously better than Jermaine Jones, but if it's not, we've seen Jermaine more recently, and we know what Jermaine can do. So, to me, this is also, if this is coming from Landon's people, especially with the 2-year deal thing with a coach he very much likes in charge of the national team, I would not be surprised if all of this is so that he gets the opportunity to wear the national team jersey one more time and play for the U.S. in 2018. Obviously, that he's still got to be pissed that he wasn't there in Brazil. That was supposed to have been it for him, and it wasn't.
Imagine that if he could actually get 4 World Cups and they're not consecutive. I mean, think about that. Like, it's hard enough to get 4 World Cups. You gotta play for so long, and then that he would have had 5. I mean, 5 is still rare. It's like what, 5 guys or something who have it. It's so rare anyway. And then to see that, like, no, he has 4, but he did it across 5. A time frame of 5 World Cups. That would be remarkable.
I would prefer we have enough good young players that we can move on from him, as much as I love the guy. But I would still believe that if he's fully fit, he could be a really impactful sub in 2018, and maybe more so than a lot of younger guys who maybe would deserve a chance over him. I don't know. Part of me would like to see him keep playing. I don't know that I want to see him play for a team like Salt Lake. It does feel a bit Jordan on the Wizards-ish to me. But you know what? It doesn't, for the people who would say, oh, it harms his legacy or whatever. No,
it doesn't.
Like, child molestation would harm his legacy. Playing more soccer than he's played now probably doesn't harm his legacy. So even if he doesn't play as well as he used to, I don't know. We'll see. We'll stay tuned to this, but it seems like if he was going to retire, he would have announced it already. So we might be seeing him next year.
No, I think that's probably a fair way of looking at it. If he was really serious about it, he would have said something, and he's been conspicuously absent or conspicuously silent. So I think it makes it likely that he's probably going to come back in some capacity, and a specialist DP role probably fits him.
Yeah, it does. It really would be interesting to see if he does land in the same place as DeMarcus Beasley too. That would be fun to see. And somebody pulled up on Twitter, and I would give them credit for it, but I don't have it in front of me. Apparently, Kyle Beckerman was quoted a few years ago as saying, when they asked him about Landon's retirement, Kyle said, well, I hope he takes a year off, then he comes back and plays for us in Salt Lake. So Beckerman, man.
This will be like his note to his mom about Kyle Beckerman, number 15, USMNT or whatever, that he signed for when he was like 15 years old. It's like,
there's a guy who's old and still balling.
How does he have these omniscient or these premonitions? It's got to be
the drugs. It's all the drugs. I just assume drugs with that dude because of the hair, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'd be surprised. Maybe it's not.
Rocky Mountain High, Kyle Beckerman.
Real quick before we go, we should laugh about Christian Pulisic's Facebook Live chat yesterday.
If you haven't seen it, you should watch. It's funny.
It's funny.
It's odd or remarkable how normal he really is, that he doesn't seem to he doesn't seem to have the ego of a superstar athlete, and he doesn't seem to have the self-deprecation of someone like Landon Donovan. Like he has the confidence of an athlete, of a star, but he has the wherewithal or something of kind of a normal person. It's odd to see it.
Yeah, it's a really funny video. Like he's in his parents', it looks like living room or front room or something. His cat walks in, shows everybody the cat. His sister walks through. He like jokes about it. It's just like, you're like, oh, this is just a regular 18-year-old college kid at home for winter break. And then you realize, no, he starts for Borussia Dortmund, and he's already got the pressure of being called potentially our nation's greatest player ever. And unlike, a Freddie Adu who collapsed under that weight, or Landon who, struggled in
kind of collapsed under
Germany,
that weight.
kind of collapsed under the weight too. He just seems like he gets that he's a big deal, but he doesn't seem to care. Like, he's still going to be him. And he's just not going to let the pressure get to him. And maybe we're reading way too much into this, but I used to cover college sports, and I've interviewed a lot of athletes, and they're either really big dicks or they're stupid. They're just unbelievably stupid.
Yeah.
And they spit cliches. He's neither. He was funny and he understood what to say. He understood not to take the bait with some of the trolls. He seemed calm and relaxed. He was making fun of people. He's like, come on, people, give me some better questions than this.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. It just feels like it's too good to be true. And the bubble's going to burst on this one, and something's going to happen. But he seems like a pretty awesome kid, in addition to being a ridiculously good 18-year-old soccer player. So, any further thoughts? Any more things you would like to discuss on this special edition?
Only other thing I was going to bring up is that we did make the US 2016 recap video. We're right about the 5-minute mark from the Copa America, the match in Chicago. I didn't see us in any others. I always look through those things to see if I'm in there, if we're in there. I didn't see us anywhere else. I examined them. It was a Pruder film, but we did make
frame by frame,
very clear. Yeah,
click.
If just about. Oh, when it gets close, I do go in and like stop, pause, play, pause, play, pause, play. Yeah. So we did make the cut. It's not totally unusual. We're at enough games. We're usually somewhere in the supporters section, often near the front. So it's not unusual to get on TV. But it was nice to see that we made the year in review. Oddly, I don't know if you've watched the entire video. It kind of made me laugh that they show like 2 goals from Argentina, 2 goals from Costa Rica, but they don't show the other 2. It's like, well, if you're gonna shortchange them, why show any? Why not just show 1? I didn't get that, but I don't know. It is actually a nice video. It was a lot of nice shots, and you get a recap of basically all the goals of the year, and in a 10-minute, 11-minute package, it makes it seem a lot more exciting than some of those games were. Looking at you, New Zealand and Cuba. So it was nice, but yeah, the fun part, we made the cut. If you check out our website or our Twitter feed, I don't remember if it's on our Facebook page. It should be. Oh, and I should probably make sure it's on Instagram. I didn't do that. We do have our picture. You can see us on there. See where we were sitting. See us
Excellent.
Celebrating one of the goals.
Now too, if you want. You know what I was going to bring up? If anybody knows, put a comment down. Has anybody heard any rumors about where the second Camp Cupcakes game is going to be? Because, that's
a good question.
Almost January. We're basically a month away from that, and I haven't heard. So I assume it's going to be in Southern California as well, but maybe it's not. Maybe they can't find an opponent. I don't know. Maybe it won't happen at all. But I would hope that if you're bringing in 30 or 40 or whatever they're going to bring in guys for camp, you at least get 2 games for them to play. So hopefully that'll be announced in the next week or so. If you've heard anything, throw down a line. T. Gill, thank you. That's a very nice comment. Doc, yes, we are going to go to the Gold Cup game in Nashville. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Are you from Nashville or around there? We'll see you there if you are. we're going to go eat hot chicken as well.
Hell yeah, we are.
We went to the last game in Nashville and had a blast. I love just walking across the river after the game, and you're just right there. It's a good time, and we will be there for sure. We might go to the Cleveland game as well the following weekend, but that will depend on money, lots of things. So we'll see. Doc, we will see you there. Come find us, seek us out. We'll be interviewing fans and stuff like that. So
indeed.
We have a website you should visit. We write for it on most days. It is USfanTV.com. We have a Twitter. It is at USfanTV. Chris mentioned the Facebook and the Instagram, which are hi, Josh. Hi from Swansea. We do love you guys. We do. Most of the comments were great. We have a Facebook and an Instagram. As Chris mentioned, they are USfanTV as well. Is that all we have? That might be all we have. We have a YouTube, but you figured that out because you're watching it right now, so I don't need to tell you about that. We do these normally on Monday nights and Wednesday nights. That will probably be the case next week, unless something happens. So we said the last show is going to be the last show of 2016. Now, this show is probably going to be the last show of 2016, but who knows? Bob Bradley may say some more stuff about Swansea.
It's
so we
2016. I mean, who the hell knew that Carrie Fisher was going to die, and then like a day later, her mom would die? Like, the world's going crazy.
And Josh,
David Bowie,
I haven't.
It's Prince. If it's not Prince, it's Alan Thicke.
We haven't been to Swansea, but we were in Cardiff about 10 years ago and had an absolute blast after a FA Cup semifinal match. So
I've seen Swansea play in a friendly, but not in Wales.
In Milwaukee?
In the Milwaukee.
Yes, at the baseball stadium. And they played a Mexican team, didn't they? Like Chivas or something?
Yeah.
Who won that? Do you remember?
I don't remember now.
I hope it was Swansea because I hate Chivas.
I was absolutely not rooting for Chivas. So.
All right. We will see you back here Monday night, if not before. See you guys. Have a happy new year if we don't see you by then.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for watching.